The large ship called Eternal Harmony moved slowly into Earth's orbit. Captain Tejo stood tall on the bridge, his forearms folded across his chest. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes were big and black. Today was an important day. After watching humans for many years, the Galactic Coalition was ready to meet them face to face. "Are we sure about this?" asked Hana, the science officer. She was shorter than Tejo with darker blue skin and 3 black stripes on her face. "My studies show humans are different." Tejo clicked his teeth, a sign of mild annoyance. "Different how? They seem simple enough. Their bodies break easily. They have no natural weapons. They need special suits just to live in space." Hana shook her head. "That's what worries me. Despite these weaknesses, they have spread across their solar system very quickly. They fight wars against each other that would destroy most species, yet they keep going. The High Command does not share your concerns," Tejo said firmly. "Our orders are clear. Meet the humans, show our power, and offer them a place in the coalition." Hana wanted to say more but stayed quiet. The bridge crew was busy preparing for the landing ceremony. Screens around them showed Earth, a blue and green planet that seemed peaceful from space. "Landing team, report to the shuttle bay," called a voice over the speakers. Tejo, Hana, and 5 security officers headed to the lower deck. Among them was Sung Min, a young officer on his first contact mission. His hand kept touching the particle disruptor at his side. "Nervous?" Hana asked. "Him. No, science officer," Sung Min replied quickly. "I am ready to protect the team." Hana noticed his finger tapping against his weapon. "Remember, this is a peaceful meeting. The humans have agreed to our terms. There should be no need for weapons." The shuttle landed in a large open area outside, a city called Geneva. Human leaders had built a special platform for the event. Flags from many nations waved in the wind. Hundreds of humans stood watching from behind barriers. Ambassador James Wilson waited at the center of the platform. He was tall for a human, with dark skin and gray hair. He wore a blue suit with many small pins on his chest. 5 other humans stood with him, all wearing similar clothes. As the aliens walked down the ramp of their shuttle, a band played music. The sound was strange to alien ears, but they tried not to show discomfort. "Welcome to Earth," Ambassador Wilson said with a smile. He stepped forward with his right hand extended. Tejo had studied this human greeting. He reached out with his upper right arm, then everything went wrong. Ambassador Wilson reached into his pocket with his left hand to take out a small gift, a pen with the Earth symbol. Sung Min saw this sudden movement. His training took over. In his mind, the human was reaching for a weapon. Without thinking, he pulled out his particle disruptor and fired. A bright blue beam hit Wilson's right arm just below the shoulder. The arm fell to the ground, cleanly cut off. Blood began to spray from the wound. Everyone froze. The human security team pulled out their weapons. The alien security team did the same. For 3 seconds, no one moved. Then Wilson did something that shocked the aliens. He did not fall down. He did not scream. He simply looked at his missing arm with surprise. Then he put his left hand over the wound to slow the bleeding. "I think," Wilson said in a calm voice that only shook slightly, "we should pause this meeting until I get medical attention." The human security team rushed to help him. One put a tight band around what was left of his arm. Another picked up the severed arm and put it in a special container. "What have you done?" Tejo hissed at Sung Min. He was reaching for something," Sung Min whispered. His skin had turned almost white with fear. "It was a gift," Hana said. She had seen the small object fall from the human's pocket. "A simple pen." Tejo pushed Sung Min back toward the shuttle. "Return to the ship immediately." Then he hurried to the human group. "Please accept our deepest apologies," Tejo said to the human leaders. "This was a terrible mistake. Our security officer misunderstood the ambassador's movement." A human woman in a white suit stepped forward. Her face was tight with anger, but her voice remained controlled. "This is an unusual start to our relationship," she said. "Ambassador Wilson needs immediate surgery. We can reattach his arm if we act quickly. Teho blinked in surprise. Reattach? You can put it back? Of course, she replied. It's standard medical procedure for humans. As the humans carried Wilson to a waiting vehicle, Teho noticed something strange. The other human leaders looked angry, but not shocked, not terrified. They spoke in low voices, making quick plans. We will resume talks tomorrow, one of them told Teho. Ambassador Wilson may not be able to join us, but we will continue as planned. Back on the shuttle, Hana sat next to Teho. Did you notice? She asked quietly. Notice what? They were not surprised by violence, Hana said. They treated a severed arm like a minor problem, and not one of them begged for mercy or suggested ending the talks. Teho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Perhaps they are simply well-trained diplomats. Perhaps, Hana said. She looked out the window at Earth as they flew back to the ship. Or perhaps we have seriously underestimated them. In the medical center of the Eternal Harmony, Sung-min was reporting to his superior. I followed protocol, he insisted. The human made a sudden move during first contact. The security chief, Jin-ho, shook his head. You fired without orders. You may have started a war. With humans? They are weak. You saw how easily the weapon cut through that arm. Jin-ho's expression darkened. I also saw how the human barely reacted to losing a limb. In my experience, beings who don't fear pain are the most dangerous of all. On Earth, in a secure room beneath the meeting area, human leaders gathered around a table. Ambassador Wilson joined by video from his hospital bed. His right arm was already reattached with small machines working to speed up healing. What are your orders, Ambassador? Asked General Clark. Wilson looked at his bandaged arm. His face showed no anger, only deep thought. Begin Protocol 17, he said finally. Quietly, no public announcements. The others in the room exchanged glances. Are you sure, sir? Asked the woman in the white suit. That's our highest defense readiness. I am, Wilson replied. I don't think they meant to attack me, but their reaction afterward told me everything I need to know. They were surprised. I survived. They think we're weak. He looked directly at the camera. Let's show them how wrong they are. 3 weeks passed since the accident with Ambassador Wilson's arm. On the surface, things seemed normal. Talks between humans and the Galactic Coalition continued every day. New human representatives took Wilson's place while he recovered. They smiled and spoke politely about trade, cultural exchange, and the benefits of joining the coalition. But aboard the Eternal Harmony, Communications Officer Ji-woo was worried. She sat at her station watching screens that showed Earth's broadcasts and signals. Something wasn't right. Captain Teho, she called. May I speak with you privately? Teho walked over to her station. What is it, Officer Ji-woo? She pointed to her screens. Look at these patterns. 3 days ago, Earth's public broadcast dropped by 30%. Their global network still works, but much of their communication has gone dark. Teho frowned. Perhaps they are having technical problems. I thought so too, Ji-woo said. But then I noticed something else. She pulled up another screen. Their space stations are moving, all of them, just a little each day, but they're changing their orbits. That's strange, Teho admitted. Why would they move their stations? I don't know, Ji-woo said. But it started the day after the incident with Wilson's arm. Teho felt uneasy. Keep watching. Report any other changes. He left the bridge and went to find Hana. The science officer had set up a special room where she studied human behavior and culture. The walls were covered with images from Earth, their cities, their wars, their art. Hana, have you found anything useful? Teho asked. Hana was watching a human video on a screen. She paused it and turned to Teho. Many things, she said. None of them comforting. She pointed to the screen. I've been studying their entertainment. Their stories tell us much about how they think. And what have you learned? Teho asked. They love stories about being underestimated, Hana said. In thousands of their tales, humans appear weak until they are attacked. Then they reveal hidden strength and defeat much stronger enemies. She walked to another screen showing human history. It's not just stories. It's their actual history too. Look at this war they call World War II. A small nation called Japan attacked a bigger nation called the United States. They destroyed some ships. The United States appeared weak at first. What happened next? Taeho asked. The United States built more ships in 4 years than anyone thought possible. They created new weapons that could destroy entire cities. They crushed their enemies completely. Taeho clicked his teeth nervously. But that was humans fighting humans. We are the Galactic Coalition. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. And we shot off their ambassador's arm, Hana reminded him. In their history, that's more than enough reason for a full response. Taeho was about to reply when his communication device beeped. Captain, return to the bridge immediately, said Jinho's voice. When Taeho reached the bridge, the mood was tense. Jinho pointed to the main screen. The humans have canceled today's meeting, he said. They say Ambassador Wilson wants to speak with us. He's coming here in 1 hour. That's good news, Taeho said. Perhaps he wants to move forward with the agreement. Jinho didn't look convinced. Maybe, but our sensors show unusual activity around Earth's moon. Many small ships are moving. An hour later, a single human shuttle docked with the Eternal Harmony. Ambassador Wilson stepped out wearing a dark suit. His right arm appeared completely normal. If Taeho hadn't seen it cut off himself, he would never know it had been injured. Ambassador Wilson, Taeho said, bowing slightly. We are honored by your visit, and pleased to see your recovery. Wilson smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. Medical technology is one of humanity's strengths, Captain. We heal quickly. Taeho led Wilson to the ship's meeting room. Hana, Jiwoo, and Jinho joined them. Wilson sat alone on one side of the table. I'll be direct, Captain, Wilson said. For 3 weeks we've pretended that shooting off my arm was a simple mistake. We've engaged in talks while your leaders decide if Earth is worthy of joining your coalition. He placed a small device on the table. It projected an image of the galaxy with thousands of tiny lights showing coalition worlds. You've been watching us, Wilson continued. But we've been watching you too. Your ship broadcasts more than you realize. We know that you see us as weak, primitive, easy to control. Taeho shifted uncomfortably. Ambassador, I assure you. Wilson held up his hand. No more lies, please. Your leaders have already decided to place Earth under protective control. They plan to take our resources and use our people as cheap labor. The aliens looked at each other in shock. This was true, but how did the humans know this? Today, Wilson said, Earth withdraws from all talks with the Galactic Coalition. We formally request that all coalition ships leave our solar system within 24 hours. Jinho stood up, his hand moving to his weapon. You cannot make demands of the coalition. We have the power to destroy your entire world. Wilson didn't even blink. Do you? He touched the device on the table. The image changed to show Earth's orbit. Hundreds of small objects appeared surrounding the Eternal Harmony. While we talked about peace, Wilson said, we prepared for war. Those are our first-generation space combat vessels. They're now in position around your ship. Taeho stared at the image. Impossible. We would have detected so many ships approaching. You were looking for large ships like yours, Wilson explained. Our vessels are small, fast, and nearly invisible to your sensors. Each one carries enough explosive power to cripple this ship. He stood up. I'll return to Earth now. You have 24 hours to leave. As Wilson walked to the door, Hana spoke up. Ambassador, please, this is a mistake. We can still find a peaceful solution. Wilson turned. For a moment, his cold expression softened. 3 weeks ago, one of your officers shot off my arm because he was afraid. He saw a human reaching into his pocket and assumed the worst. Wilson's voice was sad. We humans have a similar problem. When we're attacked, we assume the worst about our attackers. We prepare for the worst possible outcome. He looked at each alien in turn. I hope, for everyone's sake, that your leaders are wise enough to avoid what comes next. After Wilson left, the bridge of the Eternal Harmony erupted in chaos. Jinho wanted to attack immediately. Jiwoo suggested calling for help from the Coalition fleet. It would take days for help to arrive, Taeho said. We need to report this to High Command now. He sent an urgent message describing the human ultimatum. The response came quickly. Stand your ground. Coalition reinforcements will arrive in 5 days. Do not show weakness to these primitives. That night, Taeho couldn't sleep. He went to the observation deck and looked at Earth glowing, blue and white against the blackness of space. Hana joined him silently. High Command doesn't believe the humans can hurt us, Taeho said quietly. High Command didn't see Wilson's eyes today, Hana replied. I've studied humans for years, but I've never seen such certainty. They aren't bluffing, Taeho. Then, what can we do? He asked. Before Hana could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Jinho's voice came over the speakers. Captain, to the bridge. The humans, they're doing something. When Taeho reached the bridge, the main screen showed a strange sight. Earth's moon was glowing along one edge. As they watched, a massive structure rose from the surface. Then another. And another. What are those? Taeho whispered. Jiwoo's voice shook as she answered. Ships, Captain. Human warships. Much bigger than anything we've seen before. Impossible, Jinho said. They can't have hidden such ships. Our scans would have. They were inside the moon, Hana interrupted, her face pale. They hollowed out parts of their moon to hide their real fleet. As they watched in horror, more than 1,000 massive ships formed into attack formation. Each one was easily 3 times the size of the Eternal Harmony. Taeho's communication device beeped. The message was from Ambassador Wilson. It contained only 4 words. Time's up, we're coming. Send a message to all human ships, Taeho ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. Tell them we are leaving the system as requested. Jinho stared at his captain in shock. You're giving in to their demands? We should fight. We are the Galactic Coalition. Look at the screen, Security Chief, Taeho said firmly. Count the ships. We are 1 vessel against 1,000. We cannot win this fight. The massive human ships moved slowly away from the moon, forming a tight battle formation. Each one had a name painted on its side in large white letters. Retribution, Swift Justice, Defender. The largest ship at the center of the formation was called Consequences. Captain, we're receiving a message from the human fleet, Jiwoo announced. The main screen changed to show a woman with silver hair and a stern face. She wore a dark blue uniform with many small metal symbols on her chest. This is Admiral Helena Carter of the United Earth Defense Force, she said. Your 24 hours are up, yet your ship remains in Earth orbit. Explain. Taeho stepped forward. Admiral Carter, this is Captain Taeho of the Eternal Harmony. We are preparing to leave as requested. Our engines need time to... You've had 24 hours to prepare, Carter interrupted. Our scans show your engines are fully operational. You chose to ignore our warning. Taeho glanced at Jinho, who looked away guiltily. The security chief had convinced the bridge crew to delay their departure, hoping for coalition reinforcements. There has been a misunderstanding, Taeho said quickly. We are leaving now. Please allow us safe passage. Admiral Carter's expression didn't change. That option expired 1 hour ago. Now you will experience what happens when someone threatens humanity. The screen went dark. Battle stations, Taeho shouted. Prepare defensive systems. The crew rushed to their positions. The Eternal Harmony was a research vessel, but like all coalition ships, it had strong weapons and shields. Enemy ships are moving to surround us, Jiwoo reported, her voice shaking. Hana stood beside Taeho, watching the screen. They're not attacking yet, she observed. They could have fired already. Maybe they're afraid, Jinho suggested hopefully. Hana shook her head. No, they're being careful, precise. Look at their formation. The human ships had created a perfect sphere around the Eternal Harmony, with no gaps for escape. They moved with surprising grace for such large vessels. Captain, I'm detecting energy buildups in the human ships, Jiwoo reported. They're charging weapons. Raise shields to maximum, Taeho ordered. The first shots came from the smallest human ships. They fired strange weapons that looked like small metal objects rather than energy beams. What are those? Jinho asked. The objects hit the Eternal Harmony's shields and exploded with surprising force. The entire ship shook. Primitive projectile weapons, Jinho said with relief. Our shields can handle those easily. But more kept coming. Hundreds of projectiles hit the shields from all directions. The shield energy began to drop rapidly. Impossible, Jinho whispered. Their simple weapons shouldn't be this effective. Hana studied the sensor readings. The projectiles contain some kind of energy that disrupts our shields. They're not primitive at all. They're designed specifically to counter our technology. The attacks continued for 10 minutes. The Eternal Harmony's shields flickered and failed. Everyone on the bridge expected the killing blow to come next. Instead, the attack stopped. Admiral Carter appeared on the screen again. Your shields are down. Your weapon systems are still operational. What will you do now, Captain Taeho? Taeho looked around at his crew. They were afraid but ready to fight. He made his decision. We will not fire on your ships, Admiral Carter, he said. We came to Earth in peace despite what happened to Ambassador Wilson. We still want peace. Carter studied him for a long moment. A wise choice, Captain. Power down your weapons, and we will not destroy your ship. Taeho nodded to Jinho, who reluctantly shut down the weapon systems. We are sending you new coordinates, Carter continued. You will move your ship to this position and remain there. Any attempt to leave or power up weapons will result in immediate destruction. The screen went dark again. Move us to the provided coordinates, Taeho ordered quietly. As the Eternal Harmony changed position, the human fleet regrouped. Half of the ships formed a tight circle around the alien vessel. The other half moved toward Earth's orbit. What now, Captain? Hana asked. Now we wait, Taeho replied, and hope High Command makes the right decision when they learn what happened here. 5 days later, the Coalition response fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. 20 large warships, led by the massive dreadnought Supreme Victory, appeared from faster-than-light travel. Supreme Commander Q1 stood on the bridge of the Supreme Victory, looking at the sensor readings with disbelief. This can't be correct, he said to his second-in-command. The sensors show over 1,000 large ships near Earth. The readings are accurate, Supreme Commander, his officer replied. And there's something else. The human fleet is expanding. New images showed more ships rising from Earth's surface. Hundreds of vessels that had once been cargo haulers, passenger liners, and space stations were now armed with the same weapons that had defeated the Eternal Harmony's shields. How did they build so many warships? Q1 demanded. Our intelligence said they only had a small defense force. Intelligence Officer Dong Hyun stepped forward nervously. Sir, they didn't build them recently. They converted their civilian ships, and it appears they've been hiding their true military capability for years. Hiding? From us? Impossible, Q1 growled. Not impossible, sir, Dong Hyun said quietly. They knew we were watching them. They showed us what they wanted us to see. A message came through from the human fleet. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the main screen. Supreme Commander Q1, she said. Your research vessel is unharmed, but confined. You have two options. Retreat immediately or face the full force of Earth's defense fleet. Q1 laughed. You think your hastily assembled ships can stand against the might of the Coalition? We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Carter's expression remained calm. And yet you've never encountered humans before. That's your first mistake. As if on cue, new sensor alerts sounded across the Coalition fleet. Hundreds of small objects were rapidly approaching from behind. What are those? Q1 demanded. Small ships, sir, his sensor officer replied. They appear to have launched from the outer planets. They're surrounding us. The human trap was complete. The Coalition fleet was caught between the massive ships near Earth and the swarm of smaller vessels closing in from behind. They were waiting for us, Dong Hyun realized. They knew exactly where we would arrive. The first battle between humans and the Galactic Coalition lasted less than 1 hour. The Coalition ships fought bravely, but they were unprepared for human tactics. The small ships attacked in perfect coordination, targeting engines and weapons systems rather than trying to destroy the vessels completely. When it was over, 15 of the 20 Coalition warships had been disabled, their engines and weapons destroyed, but life support still functioning. The other 5, including the Supreme Victory, managed to escape back to Coalition space. As Supreme Commander Q-Wan prepared his report to the High Council, he included one clear warning. The humans are not primitive, they are not weak, and they have been preparing for war far longer than we realized. Back on Earth, Ambassador Wilson stood in the Global Defense Headquarters, watching the disabled Coalition ships on the main screen. "Should we finish them off?" a military advisor asked. Wilson shook his head. "No. Let them return home with their damaged ships. Let them tell the Coalition what happened here." He looked at the screen, at the broken alien vessels floating in space. "They need to understand exactly who they attacked. This is just the beginning." The High Council of the Galactic Coalition met in an emergency session. 12 leaders from the most powerful world sat around a large round table. They had just watched Supreme Commander Q-Wan's report on the Earth battle. "This is unprecedented," said the head counselor, an old alien with pale green skin. "No species has ever defeated a Coalition battle group so quickly. The humans must have been preparing for war for decades," another counselor suggested. "They tricked us." Supreme Commander Q-Wan stood at the center of the room, his uniform still dirty from the battle. "They did not trick us, we tricked ourselves. We saw what we expected to see, a primitive species with simple technology." "What do you suggest we do?" the head counselor asked. "We must gather our full military strength," Q-Wan replied. "All 20 fleets. We will return to Earth and show these humans the true power of the Coalition." Most counselors nodded in agreement. Only one spoke against the plan. "Before we rush into a full-scale war," she said, "perhaps we should try to understand these humans better, learn why they are so effective in battle." The others ignored her concerns. The decision was made. The Coalition would gather its forces and attack Earth within 30 days. Meanwhile, the humans were not waiting. Their ships spread out from Earth, taking control of the entire solar system. They built defense stations around every planet and moon. More ships rose from hidden bases on Mars, Venus, and the moons of Jupiter. On the Praxis colony, the furthest human settlement, Colonel Minho led a coalition force of 500 soldiers. When news of the Earth battle reached them, they prepared for a human attack. "Fortify the main buildings," Minho ordered. "Set up weapon positions here, here, and here." He pointed to a map of the colony. "When the humans come, we will show them that Coalition ground forces are not so easily defeated." 3 days later, sensors detected human ships approaching. Minho expected them to bomb the colony from orbit. That's what Coalition forces would do. Instead, the human ships landed outside the colony perimeter. Soldiers in white armor emerged and formed neat lines. "They're going to attack on foot?" Minho's second-in-command asked in disbelief. "That's suicide." Minho wasn't so sure. He watched through binoculars as the human soldiers deployed strange vehicles and equipment. They didn't rush toward the colony. They set up positions, slowly and carefully. The first attack came at night. Not with guns or bombs, but with a strange gas that filled the colony. Coalition soldiers fell asleep at their posts. When they woke up, their weapons were gone. The human soldiers entered the colony. Without firing a shot, they moved from building to building, disabling equipment and capturing Coalition soldiers. Minho and his officers made a final stand in the command center. They fired their remaining weapons at the humans who approached. The humans didn't fire back. Instead, they used shields and more of the sleep gas. When Minho woke up, he was sitting in a chair in his own office. A human officer stood by the window looking out at the colony. "Why aren't you killing us?" Minho asked. The human turned around. He had a serious face but kind eyes. "Because that's not our mission," he said. "We're here to secure the colony, not destroy it. But we are enemies, Minho insisted. In war, you kill your enemies. The human shook his head. Is that what the coalition teaches? We don't fight that way. We use only the force needed to achieve our goals. Killing your soldiers won't help us. I don't understand, Minho said. We shot off your ambassador's arm. You declared war. War means death. The human sat down across from Minho. Ambassador Wilson lost an arm, not his life. Our response is proportional. We will disable the coalition's ability to threaten us, not slaughter your people. As the human left, he added, besides, dead people can't learn from their mistakes. Back on Earth, Hana had been separated from the other crew members of the Eternal Harmony. The humans had learned of her research into their culture and wanted to talk to her. They took her to a building called a university, where human scientists studied alien cultures. Professor Yoon was a small, elderly human woman with bright eyes and quick movements. She was in charge of studying the coalition. You're the first alien who tried to truly understand us, Professor Yoon told Hana. The others just collected facts about our technology and resources. You looked at our stories, our history, our way of thinking. I wanted to know how humans would react to contact with the coalition, Hana explained. But I failed. I didn't predict your hidden fleet or your military strength. Professor Yoon smiled. That's because you looked for the wrong things. You searched our history for evidence of weakness or submission. Instead, you should have looked for patterns of response to threats. She showed Hana a room filled with images from human history. Every time humans have been attacked, we've responded with greater force than expected. It's not because we're naturally violent. It's because we evolved on a dangerous world where hesitation meant death. But your technology, Hana said. How did you hide it from us? We've been watching Earth for decades. We knew you were watching, Professor Yoon replied. After we detected your first probes in our system, we created a false image for you to see. We showed you our old technology, our public systems. We kept our advances hidden underground, underwater, inside moons and asteroids. But why? Hana asked. If you had revealed your true strength, the coalition might never have challenged you. Professor Yoon's expression turned serious. Because we learned from our own history that showing weakness sometimes invites attack, but appearing too strong sometimes guarantees it. Powerful empires often eliminate potential rivals before they become threats. Hana thought about this. It was true. The coalition had destroyed several advanced civilizations that might have one day challenged their power. So what happens now? Hana asked. Will humans destroy the coalition? That's not for me to decide, Professor Yoon said. But I don't think so. Humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be left alone to develop in our own way. Meanwhile, Ambassador Wilson met with Admiral Carter and Earth's Defense Council. Large screens showed the movement of coalition fleets across the galaxy. They were gathering for a massive attack. They're bringing everything they have, Admiral Carter said. 20 fleets, thousands of ships. Wilson looked at the screens calmly. Then we'll be ready for them. Deploy Phase 2 defenses, activate the Jupiter and Saturn defense platforms, and send the message to our deep space units. A young officer looked nervous. Sir, are you sure about this? Once we reveal our full capabilities, there's no going back. The coalition will know everything we can do. Wilson touched his right arm, the one that had been shot off and reattached. They started this when they came to our system with conquest in mind. They continued it when they fired on one of our people. Now they'll learn exactly what that decision will cost them. He turned to the council. Prepare the fleet. All of it. The real fleet. Across the solar system. Hidden doors opened in moons, asteroids, and gas giant clouds. Ships far larger and more advanced than any yet seen moved into position. Earth's true defense force was awakening. On the Eternal Harmony, still held by human forces, Taeho watched the deployment with growing horror. How many ships do they have? He whispered. Ji-woo, working on a nearby console, shook her head. I can't even count them all. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. And the coalition is coming to attack them, Taeho said quietly. They have no idea what they're facing. Should we warn them? Jiwoo asked. Taeho thought for a moment. They wouldn't believe us, and even if they did, it's too late to stop what's coming. As he watched Earth's vast fleet take position, Taeho remembered Hana's words from weeks ago. In thousands of their tales, humans appear weak until they are attacked. Then they reveal hidden strength and defeat much stronger enemies. It wasn't just stories. It was the truth about humans, and the Coalition was about to learn this lesson the hard way. The combined fleets of the Galactic Coalition entered the edge of Earth's solar system with great confidence. 5,000 warships, the largest military force ever assembled, moved in perfect formation. At the center was the new super dreadnought. Final victory, twice the size of any ship in the fleet. Supreme Commander Q-Wan stood on the bridge watching the stars. "Status report," he ordered. "All ships in position, Supreme Commander," his officer replied. "No sign of human ships yet. They appear to be hiding in the inner system." "They're afraid," another officer suggested. "They defeated our small force, but they know they cannot stand against our full might." Q-Wan wasn't so sure. "Send scout ships ahead. Approach with caution." 10 small, fast ships moved ahead of the main fleet. They passed the orbit of Neptune, then Uranus. Still no sign of human forces. "Perhaps they've abandoned their outer defenses," an officer suggested. Then, as the scout ships approached Saturn, strange readings appeared on their sensors. The beautiful rings around the planet were changing, moving. "Supreme Commander," the sensor officer called out. "The rings of Saturn, they're not rings at all." The billions of ice particles that formed Saturn's rings began to move in unison. They gathered together, forming shapes, ships, thousands of ships that had been disguised as part of the natural rings. At the same time, the clouds of Jupiter parted, revealing massive battle stations hidden in the gas giant storms. The moons of both planets opened up, showing gunports and launch bays that had been invisible before. "It's a trap," Q-Wan whispered. All 10 scout ships disappeared in flashes of light. Then the human attack began. Ships poured out from every planet, moon, and asteroid. Not hundreds or thousands, but tens of thousands. Some were small and fast. Others were enormous city-sized vessels that dwarfed even the final victory. "How many are there?" Q-Wan demanded. The sensor officer's voice shook. "At least 50,000, Supreme Commander, maybe more. They were hidden throughout the system." "Impossible. No civilization could build so many ships in secret." Intelligence Officer Dong Hyun approached with a grim face. "Sir, new analysis suggests they've been building this fleet for over 200 years, long before we ever detected them." 200 years? But why? "They didn't know about us. They didn't know about any alien life." "That's just it, sir," Dong Hyun replied. "They built this fleet without knowing if aliens existed. They prepared for a threat they weren't sure was real." For the first time in his long career, Q-Wan felt true fear. "Order all ships to defensive formation. Prepare for—" He never finished his sentence. The human fleet wasn't attacking. Instead, they formed a massive sphere around the coalition forces, closing off all escape routes. Then they simply waited. A communication came through on all channels. Admiral Carter appeared on the screen, but this time she wasn't alone. Ambassador Wilson stood beside her, along with an older human with white hair. "Supreme Commander Q-Wan," Wilson said. "This is President Lee of Earth's United Nations. He has a message for the Coalition." The older human stepped forward. "We do not wish to destroy your fleet, though we clearly could. We offer you one chance to end this conflict peacefully." Q-Wan looked at the sensor readings again. His fleet was completely surrounded. Even with 5,000 ships, they had no chance against what the humans had deployed. "What are your terms?" Q-Wan asked, his voice tight. "First, the Coalition will recognize Earth and the entire solar system as sovereign territory, never to be invaded or claimed. Second, all Coalition forces will withdraw from our space immediately. Third, the Coalition will sign a peace treaty with Earth, establishing fair trade and diplomatic relations." The terms were reasonable, even generous, but Q-Wan knew the High Council would never agree. The coalition did not make peace with primitive species, they conquered them. I must consult with my leaders, Q1 said. You have 1 hour, President Lee replied. While Q1 sent urgent messages to the High Council, Captain Teho and his crew were brought to a human ship called Second Chances. To their surprise, Hana was already there, along with Ambassador Wilson. Captain Teho, Wilson greeted him. I wanted you to be here for what happens next. Will you destroy the coalition fleet? Teho asked directly. Wilson shook his head. That's not our goal. We want peace, not destruction. The High Council will never agree to your terms, Teho said. They'll order Q1 to fight, even against these odds. We know, Wilson said. That's why we prepared something special. He led them to the bridge of the Second Chances. The massive human ship was like nothing Teho had ever seen. Its technology was far beyond coalition standards. This is only one of our newest vessels, Wilson explained. We've been advancing our technology in secret for generations, while showing you only our oldest, most basic ships and weapons. On the main screen, they could see the coalition fleet surrounded by human ships. It looked like tiny dots trapped inside a giant sphere. 1 hour has passed, Admiral Carter announced. The coalition fleet is powering up weapons. They're preparing to fight. Wilson nodded as if he had expected this. Begin Operation Enlightenment. A strange energy wave spread out from the human ships. It washed over the coalition fleet like a gentle blue light. Then, one by one, all 5,000 coalition ships went dark. Their engines, weapons, and shields shut down completely. Only life support systems remained active. What did you do to them? Hana asked in amazement. We disabled their technology temporarily, Wilson explained. No one is hurt. They simply can't fight or flee. Now they must listen. On every coalition ship, screens came to life showing President Lee. Your weapons and engines are disabled, he said calmly. This effect will last for 6 hours. During this time, you must make a choice. You can agree to our terms for peace or... He paused. Or you can witness a demonstration of what would happen if we chose to use our full military power against you. In the silence that followed, Supreme Commander Q1 made the hardest decision of his life. The High Council had ordered him to fight to the death rather than surrender. But he had seen enough to know that fighting would only lead to the complete destruction of his fleet. We accept your terms, he said finally. 6 months later, Captain Teho stood on the observation deck of a new ship. It was a joint Earth Coalition vessel, the first of its kind. Half the crew were human, half were from various coalition worlds. Hana joined him, wearing the uniform of a cultural liaison officer. The peace treaty is working better than expected, she said. Trade between Earth and the coalition has already begun. The High Council is still unhappy, Teho noted. They've never been forced to make peace before. They'll adjust, Hana said. Humans have changed everything. The coalition can no longer simply conquer any world it finds. They watched as a massive fleet of ships passed by their position. Most were headed back to Earth from various assignments throughout the solar system. Now that peace was established, the humans were reducing their military presence. Teho noticed something interesting about the ships. Look at their names, he pointed out. The ships that had once carried names like Retribution and Swift Justice now bore new names: Cooperation, Understanding, and Diplomacy. The flagship that had been called Consequences was now named Second Chances. Ambassador Wilson joined them on the deck. His right arm worked perfectly now, with no sign it had ever been injured. Your people have an unusual approach to war, Teho said to him. You prepare for it thoroughly, yet you seem to prefer peace. Wilson smiled. The best way to avoid war is to be so well prepared for it that no one dares to start one. But once it begins, the true measure of a civilization is not how well they fight, but how well they make peace afterward. He looked out at the stars. We've been preparing to meet aliens for centuries, not knowing if you would come as friends or enemies. When you shot off my arm, we feared the worst and prepared accordingly. But our greatest hope was always that we could become allies instead. Hana studied Wilson carefully. There's something I still don't understand. Your ships, your technology, you could have destroyed the entire coalition. Why show restraint? Because the true measure of power isn't the ability to destroy, Wilson replied, but the choice not to when you can. We don't want enemies, we want allies who understand us. Sometimes, that requires clarification. As they watched Earth's ships return home, Tejo thought about how everything had changed because of one mistake. A nervous security officer firing at a human reaching for a pen. Perhaps, Tejo remarked to Hana, losing an arm was the least painful way this could have ended for all of us. Hana nodded. Humans have a saying, it cost an arm and a leg. Apparently we got off with just the arm. Ambassador Wilson smiled. Yes, you did. And now we build the future together, with all limbs intact.